The New York Jets are trying something a little different as they look for a new general manager and head coach.
Interesting.
Instead of just working through their usual contacts, they've decided to bring in the 33rd team to help.
Yeah.
They're a media company, but they're known for some pretty serious NFL analysis.
And what makes this even more interesting is that the 33rd team was actually started by Mike Tannenbaum.
Right, the Jets' former general manager.
Exactly. He was the GM there from 2006 to 2012, and he's going to be working with Rick Spielman on this.
Oh, wow, the former Vikings GM.
Yep, both of them will be advising Jets owner Woody Johnson during this whole search process.
Okay, so what exactly is the 33rd team going to be doing for the Jets?
Well, they're going to be pretty involved. They'll be finding potential candidates for both the general manager and head coach jobs. They'll also be checking them out, doing background checks and all that. And they'll even be setting up interviews with the people who make it to the final round.
So this is a pretty big deal for the 33rd team, isn't it?
It is. This is actually the first time they're officially working with an NFL team to help them hire people.
Makes you wonder if this might become a more common thing in the future.
It could. But for now, it's pretty unique.
It's interesting that Tannenbaum has all this history with the Jets.
You're telling me he was with the organization for 16 seasons, doing all sorts of different jobs before he became general manager.
And how did the Jets do during his time as general manager?
Not bad at all. They made it to the playoffs 3 times while he was in charge. Twice, they even went as far as the AFC Championship game.
That's a pretty solid track record. And he already knows Woody Johnson from back then.
That's right. They worked together before, so there's definitely a lot of familiarity there.
Now, what about Spielman? What was his experience like with the Vikings?
Well, Spielman was with the Vikings for 10 seasons as their general manager. They got to the playoffs 4 times during that period.
So maybe not quite as much success as Tannenbaum, but still a pretty good run.
Yeah, definitely. He might not know the Jets organization as well, but he's got tons of experience in building a strong NFL team.
So with all this experience from Tannenbaum, are we going to see the Jets trying to go back to the style of play they had when he was their general manager?
That's a good question. Back then, they really focused on a strong defense and a powerful running game. But the NFL has changed a lot since those days, and the Jets' current players might not be the best fit for that kind of strategy.
So it's probably more about using Tannenbaum's knowledge to create a winning atmosphere and deal with all the challenges of playing in New York.
Exactly. He knows that environment inside and out.
Speaking of experience, Tannenbaum has done a lot of coaching searches, right?
Oh, absolutely. He did several when he was with the Jets, and even more later on with the Miami Dolphins. Some of those searches ended up with the teams making it to the playoffs.
Can you give me an example?
Sure. When he was with the Jets, he was involved in hiring Rex Ryan. And remember, Ryan took the Jets to those back-to-back AFC championships.
Oh, right. Those were some good years for the Jets.
They were.
What about Spielman? Has he done many coaching searches?
Not really. The only one he was directly involved in was hiring Mike Zimmer for the Vikings.
Interesting. So the Jets also brought in some former GMs to help them out with their last big hiring back in 2015. Is this situation different from what they did then?
Yeah, this time it's a lot more structured. Back then, they were just getting advice from those GMs. Now they're actually working with the 33rd team as a partner. It seems like they really want to make decisions based on data this time and get all the expert knowledge the 33rd team can offer.
It definitely makes you think about how teams might be changing how they make big choices.
It does. It'll be interesting to see how this all plays out.
Do you think other teams in the NFL might start doing this too? Working with groups like the 33rd team, I mean.
It's definitely possible. We're seeing more and more teams using outside consultants and relying on data analysis to make their decisions. So the Jets working with the 33rd team could be a sign of things to come. Maybe other teams will realize they need help from experts outside their own organizations.
So what are the advantages for the Jets in doing this?
Well, one big advantage is that they get access to a much wider range of candidates. The 33rd team has connections all over the league, so they can find people the Jets might not even know about.
So they're not limited to the usual suspects.
Exactly. That means they might discover some hidden gems, people who are perfect for the Jets but wouldn't have been on their radar otherwise.
That makes sense. What about learning more about the candidates? Does the 33rd team help with that too?
Oh, for sure. The 33rd team can give the Jets really valuable information about each candidate, their background, their strengths, their weaknesses, that kind of thing.
So it's like having a whole research team working for them.
Pretty much. And the 33rd team's analysts are really good at evaluating talent. They know what to look for. So all this helps the Jets avoid hiring the wrong person, someone who wouldn't be a good fit for the team.
And they have all that data too, right?
Right. The 33rd team has a ton of data on NFL trends, different coaching styles, how players perform, all kinds of stuff.
I bet that data is really useful when they're trying to match up candidates with what the Jets are looking for.
It is. They can see if a coach's offensive or defensive style would work for the Jets. They can look at their track record with developing players. They can even figure out how well a coach adapts to different situations. So yeah, the data is really powerful.
But is there a chance the Jets might rely too much on the 33rd team? I mean, could it backfire?
That's a fair point. It's a balancing act, right?
Mm.
They don't want to lose their own internal expertise and decision-making skills. They need to use the 33rd team's advice, but also trust their own gut feelings. Ultimately, the Jets have to make the final decision and make sure it aligns with their vision for the team.
And wouldn't all these different perspectives, from Tannenbaum, Spielman, the 33rd team, and the Jets themselves, possibly lead to some disagreements or confusion?
Yeah, there's always that risk. Like Tannenbaum and Spielman might disagree on what the Jets need. So it's going to be up to Woody Johnson to make sure everyone's on the same page and to combine all the information from the 33rd team with his own thoughts and instincts.
Sounds pretty complicated.
It is. There are a lot of moving parts, but it's definitely an interesting situation.
So as we watch this unfold, what are some of the key things we should be looking out for?
Well, the biggest thing, of course, is who they actually pick for the general manager and head coach. Those choices will tell us a lot about what the Jets want to do and how they're trying to build a winning team.
Beyond just the names themselves, what else should we pay attention to?
It'll be interesting to see if they go with someone who has a lot of experience or if they take a chance on someone younger and newer. And will they look for a coach who's focused on offense or defense? Those kinds of things will give us some clues about their strategy.
And what about how the Jets and the 33rd team work together? Is there anything specific to watch there?
Definitely. We want to see if it's a real partnership where they're both collaborating and contributing, or if the 33rd team is mostly just giving advice. How much influence the 33rd team ends up having on the final decisions will tell us how much the Jets really trust their expertise.
So let's talk about some of the people who might actually get these jobs, the general manager and the head coach. It's early, but are there any names out there that give us a hint about what the Jets are thinking?
There are a few names, but remember, this is all just speculation right now.
Okay, fair enough. So let's start with the general manager search. What kind of person are the Jets probably looking for?
Well, given their situation, I think they'll want someone who's got a track record of finding good players, both in the draft and through free agency. They need to build a team that can win consistently.
So someone who can put together a winning roster.
Exactly. But they also need a general manager who can create a good atmosphere, a team that works well together, someone who understands that building a strong team culture is really important.
And I'm guessing they want someone with fresh ideas, right? Given all the Jets' recent struggles.
Oh, absolutely. Someone who can think outside the box, maybe shake things up a little, and help them get out of this rut they've been in.
Are there any names being floated around as potential candidates?
One name that's come up is Scott Fitterer. He's the general manager for the Carolina Panthers right now. He's gotten good reviews for the team he's put together there.
Anyone else?
Another possibility is Monty Ossenfort. He's with the Tennessee Titans, the director of player personnel. People think he's going to be a big deal in the NFL, so he might be someone the Jets are interested in.
It wouldn't be surprising if they went with someone who has a connection to either Tannenbaum or Spielman.
Right.
Someone they've worked with before and trust.
Yeah, that's definitely possible. We'll just have to wait and see how it all plays out.
Okay, let's move on to the head coach. What are the Jets looking for in their next head coach?
I think they'll really focus on finding someone who can bring some creativity to the offense, someone who can develop a quarterback and design an offensive scheme that works in today's NFL.
They've struggled on offense for a while now. They desperately need a coach who can fix that.
No doubt about it. But they can't ignore the defense either. A head coach with a good defensive background could help them improve that side of the ball too.
And of course, any head coach in New York needs to be a strong leader. Someone who can handle all the pressure that comes with coaching in this city.
It's a tough job, for sure, but it's also one of the most sought-after coaching positions in the league.
Are there any names out there for potential head coaches?
Well, one name that's generating some buzz is Shane Waldron. He's the offensive coordinator for the Seattle Seahawks right now. He's worked with Pete Carroll and has been credited with helping Geno Smith improve.
Interesting. Anyone else?
Keep an eye on Brian Callahan. He's the offensive coordinator for the Cincinnati Bengals, and he's played a big part in their success with Joe Burrow.
What about Rex Ryan? Could he come back? He did take the Jets to the playoffs, but it was a while ago now.
Yeah, that would be a surprise, wouldn't it? It's hard to say if Ryan would even want to come back or if the Jets would be interested, but it's definitely an interesting possibility.
It all comes down to this, doesn't it? The Jets' choices for general manager and head coach will really shape the team's future.
No question about it. These are big decisions that will have a ripple effect for years to come.
Well, it seems like the Jets are trying to make smart, strategic decisions this time around, with the 33rd team helping them. It's definitely a different way of doing things.
It is. It's a gamble, but it will be fun to watch it all unfold and see what happens.
Goodbye and see you in the next video.
Goodbye and see you in the next video.